All right, so today we're diving into the world of C3.AI. They're making some pretty big waves in the AI world, and even some pretty bold claims about making AI accessible to just about everyone. First off, C3.AI's stock surged 35% in just a week, and that's just wild. But also, they've got these partnerships with giants like Microsoft, and they're touting AI applications that could really change the game in so many industries. So we're here to figure out, is C3.AI for real, or is this just a bunch of hype?
Well, one of the most interesting things about C3.AI is that they're not just trying to build like another AI model or something. They're really focusing on a huge problem in the AI industry, which is actually putting these AI solutions into businesses in a practical way.
Oh, so they're kind of like offering a shortcut then, like instead of businesses having to build their own AI from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they're offering pre-built AI applications that businesses can customize to their needs, even if they don't have a whole team of AI experts on staff. Like imagine if you were building a house, but instead of starting with just raw lumber,
Yeah.
you had all these pre-made components ready to go.
Okay, I'm kind of getting the picture. But how does all of this translate into a 35% stock surge? Was the market just super excited about this whole like plug and play AI idea?
Well, the market does love a good innovation story, but there's more to it than just that. This stock surge is also because of some very real things happening. For example, C3.AI just expanded their partnership with Microsoft, which gives them access to the massive Azure marketplace. And they are going to be integrated into Microsoft sales systems. And on top of that, they've also got these strategic alliances, like with a company called Capgemini. They bring expertise in implementation and they've got global reach.
So it's not just about the technology. It's about having the connections to actually get that tech out there and into the companies that could benefit from it. But can this approach actually work? I mean, AI is so complicated. Can you really just plug and play it into any business like that?
That's the question everyone's asking. The idea behind C3.AI's platform is that they have these pre-trained AI models and a modular structure that allows for customization. So that means businesses can use AI for very specific things, things like predictive maintenance or maybe optimizing their supply chains,
Mhm.
without needing to build everything from the ground up.
Okay, that does sound promising. But wouldn't different industries need very different AI solutions? How can one platform really work for so many different
Well,
needs?
that's where the C3 AI suite comes in. It's like a collection of these pre-built AI applications, but they're tailored to specific industries. So, for instance, they have applications for the energy sector and also manufacturing, financial services, even healthcare.
Oh, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all thing. They've really tried to tailor their solutions. That makes way more sense. But let's talk about the bottom line for a second. How is C3.AI actually performing financially? Is all of this translating into real revenue?
Well, looking at the numbers, it's a pretty compelling story. They've had 6 quarters in a row of accelerated revenue growth, which is a great sign that they're moving in the right direction. And in their first quarter of fiscal year 2025, they brought in a massive $87.2 million. That actually beat what analysts were expecting.
Those are some impressive numbers. But is that growth going to last, or is this just a temporary thing?
Well, that's what investors are trying to find out. And to understand this better, we need to look at C3.AI's strategy. One really important thing they did was to switch to a consumption-based pricing model, which is in line with what's happening across the software industry right now.
So instead of charging a big fee up front, they're charging based on how much the AI is actually being used. That seems like it would make their solutions more affordable, especially for smaller businesses.
Mhm.
But are there any downsides to doing that?
You've hit on a key point there. This consumption-based model does make it easier for companies to start using AI because that initial cost is lower, but it also means their revenue is directly tied to how much their AI is being used. So it's a little less predictable in the short term.
So there's a trade-off then. Faster growth, but maybe less predictable revenue?
Yeah.
Sounds like C3.AI is betting on that faster growth, though.
Yeah, that's one way to see it. It's definitely a risk, but their recent performance suggests it might be working out.
It's definitely a bold move. We'll have to see how it all plays out in the long run. Now, I know they've got some big-name clients, but can you give us a real example of how a company is using their technology, something that really shows us the benefits?
Well, one of the best examples is their work with Shell. C3.AI built AI applications for Shell that help them predict when equipment might fail on their offshore platforms. This has saved Shell millions of dollars because they can avoid downtime and repairs, but it's also improved safety and reduced their environmental impact.
So they're using AI to keep those giant oil rigs running smoothly and safely. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But can we really compare a company like Shell with its tons of resources to a smaller business trying to get into AI.
That's a good point. Shell is definitely unique because of how big their operation is. But the core idea behind C3.AI's approach is still the same. They want to make AI accessible and helpful for any company, no matter their size or what industry they're in.
Okay, so we've seen some really impressive growth. We've talked about strategic partnerships, and we've seen real-world applications with real results. It's starting to sound like C3.AI might actually be onto something big. But I'm sure there are also challenges and risks involved. Every investment has two sides.
Oh, absolutely. C3.AI has a lot going for it, but they're not operating in a vacuum. The AI market is super competitive right now. You've got these huge tech giants and all these new startups. They're all fighting for a piece of the pie. So C3.AI has to not only prove that their tech is valuable, but they also have to stand out from the crowd.
So it's not a guaranteed win then.
Not at all. There's also the challenge of turning those pilot projects into long-term, profitable contracts. They need to show that their solutions create lasting value, not just short-term gains.
And of course, there's the question of profitability itself. High growth is great, but eventually they have to show they can make money consistently.
Exactly. That's something investors will be watching very closely.
It seems like we've only just scratched the surface of C3.AI's story.
Mhm.
What other industries are they having an impact on? And what does all of this mean for the future of AI as a whole?
That's where things get really interesting. Let's take a look at some other industries where C3.AI is making moves, and then we can explore what this all means for the future of AI adoption.
So we talked about Shell and all their success in the energy industry. But C3.AI isn't just sticking to one area, right?
Mhm.
Where else are they taking this accessible AI idea?
Right, they're branching out. One place where they're doing really well is manufacturing. Their AI is helping companies make their production more efficient and spot problems before they happen. They can even personalize their manufacturing processes.
So AI could really help out manufacturers,
Yeah.
especially now with all the supply chain problems and rising costs. But how does this personalization thing work in a factory setting?
Well, one way is through something called demand forecasting. C3.AI's AI can look at huge amounts of data, like past sales numbers and what's happening in the market right now, and then it can predict what people are going to want to buy in the future. This way, manufacturers can make the right amount of stuff,
That's super efficient.
and it's complex, but it works. There's this one big industrial manufacturer, I can't say their name, but they used C3.AI's AI to make their production line better, and for a very complicated product, too. And they were able to make things 15% faster, and the quality of their product went way up.
Those are great results. But are these benefits only for huge companies? What about smaller businesses that don't have that much money to spend?
Well, that's the beauty of C3.AI's platform approach. Their apps are ready to go and you can customize them. So even smaller businesses can use AI without spending a fortune.
So they're making AI easier for everyone to use. That's going to change a lot of industries.
Exactly. We're seeing this in healthcare too. C3.AI is making apps to personalize patient care, and they can help make clinical trials go faster. They can even predict and prevent disease outbreaks.
Predict disease outbreaks with AI. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's all about the data. Their AI looks at data from different places, like hospital records and weather patterns, even social media, and it can see early warning signs of an outbreak.
That's wild. But there's a lot of power in that kind of technology.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the ethical side of things too, right?
Yeah.
Especially in healthcare.
Absolutely. Ethics are super important when it comes to AI, especially in healthcare. We need to make sure things are transparent, that people's data is protected, and that these algorithms aren't biased. We have to remember that AI is a tool. It can be used for good or bad. It's our job as a society to make sure AI is used responsibly.
That's a really important point. But let's get back to C3.AI. We talked about energy, manufacturing, and healthcare, but I'm sure they're not stopping there.
You're right. They're moving into financial services, too. Their AI can be used to spot fraud and assess risk. And they can even personalize financial products. And in the public sector, C3.AI is helping with things like traffic management and making emergency response times faster.
Wow, they're really doing it all. It seems like the possibilities are endless. But could they be spreading themselves too thin by trying to do so much? Are they losing focus?
That's a good question. It's important for any company to manage their growth, especially in the AI world where things move so fast. C3.AI needs to keep innovating and deliver on what they promise.
So C3.AI is at a turning point. They've shown amazing growth. They've built partnerships and developed some amazing tech. But can they keep this up? Can they really change the game in this industry?
That's the big question. Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. What C3.AI does will affect everyone in the AI world.
It feels like we're on the verge of something new. AI isn't just for experts anymore. It's becoming a part of everyday life.
And C3.AI is trying to be a leader in that future.
Okay, so we've talked about how C3.AI is affecting different industries. But what does this mean for the average person? How is this AI revolution going to change our lives?
That's the most interesting part. Let's talk about what this all means for you.
Okay, so we've really gotten into C3.AI. Their incredible growth and their goal of making AI accessible to everyone. But the big question for most people is, what does this mean for me? How will this whole AI revolution actually affect my life?
Right, that's the question everyone wants answered. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical stuff and the money, but in the end, technology only matters if it changes people's lives.
So let's try to picture the future. If C3.AI succeeds, what will our world look like?
Well, imagine a world where your doctor uses AI to create a personalized treatment plan just for you. The AI would look at your genes and your lifestyle to figure out the best way to treat you. Or imagine your car not only gets you through traffic, but it can also tell you if something's wrong and warn you before anything breaks down.
Okay, now I'm starting to get it. It sounds like AI could be there in the background, making our lives easier and better. But what about the risks? We've all seen those movies where AI takes over and things go really bad. Is that something we should be worried about?
Well, Hollywood does like to exaggerate things, but it's true that AI could be misused. That's why the ethical stuff we were talking about earlier is so important. We have to make sure AI is developed the right way and that it's used responsibly.
It sounds like companies like C3.AI have a big responsibility here. They're not just building tech, they're shaping the future.
It's a huge challenge, and it's still early to say how it'll all turn out. But the good thing is that C3.AI seems to understand this. They've said publicly that they want to develop AI responsibly, and they're involved in conversations about how to govern AI.
That's good to hear. It sounds like they're not just focused on making money. They want to build a future where AI benefits everyone. But let's be real, the tech world is competitive. Can C3.AI stay ahead of everyone else?
Well, that's the big question. Things are changing so fast in the AI world. New companies pop up all the time, and the old ones are adapting. C3.AI has to keep innovating and show why their approach is the best.
C3.AI's story is really fascinating. There's so much potential, but also a lot of uncertainty. It feels like we're at a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And the decisions C3.AI makes will have a big impact on the future of AI.
And that brings us back to you, our listener. As AI becomes a bigger part of our lives, it's so important to stay informed. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It depends on the choices we make.
So as you go about your day, think about how AI is already affecting you. What are you excited about? What worries you? And what role do you want to play in all of this?
Because the future of AI isn't just about data and algorithms. It's about people. It's about all of us.
That's a great point to end on.